What's going on? How are you? I hope you're having an amazing day, a beautiful evening, wherever you're at, watching this, listening to this. If you don't know who I am, I'm Brian Bowman. I'm the founder of eCom Underground, and we help online brands, e-commerce sellers make more money online. We help you scale your business. And what I want to talk about today is mindset. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of mindset that's, like positive thinking and goal setting and vision boards and things like that. Now, I think that there's absolutely a place for that. In fact, it's helped me tremendously, and I think it's an important part of the process. Is setting clear goals. I'm sure you've heard the adage: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that's very true. I also believe that mindset is super important. Being mindful of our thoughts, our intention, our actions. It's a critical part of the process, and I think that's a different video for a different time. What I want to talk about today is actually mindset as it relates to your business, and really more of a paradigm shift on how you view your business, both now and in the long term, and how that's going to influence your actions. And with that mindset shift will come different actions in your business, which are going to have a huge impact. So I want to divide this into two parts. First, I want to actually talk about this paradigm shift and why it's so important. And then I want to actually, as always, show you some numbers and actually put numbers behind this to help you see a bigger vision for your company, so you can actually see how this plays out, and then talk about tactically what it means to implement this. So the first part of this is that mindset shift. When a lot of us start this e-commerce journey, it usually, when we start this business, it usually comes from a place of wanting to generate cash flow, right? Wanting a little more freedom, creating a little more breathing room in our personal finances. So whether it's you're in a job that you don't really like and you just want to maybe start opening the opportunity for you to transition out of that job to create a full-time income. If maybe you're good with what you do, but you just want a little extra cash to take that extra vacation, or put a little more money away in savings, or to maybe put the kids in private school, whatever it is, that a lot of times is a motivator. Sometimes it's just a side hustle. It's just a project on the side to see if you can do it, right? It sounds interesting. Let's try it. Other times it's pain or fear. Your back is against the wall. You don't have a choice, and you have to make something work. So this is going to work, right? And a lot of times that can actually be one of the biggest drivers. I can tell you from a lot of my experience, my personal experience, and experience of friends that I have in business. That is where a lot of it starts. They're like, this is it. This has to work, and they make it work. But overall, and I've experienced all of these in the brands that I've started and built and scaled. Um, it usually is coming from a place of like cash flow. Like, I got to get this thing generating some revenue and some profit. And that's very good. It's a good place to start. And whatever gets you to take action and start implementing, you're already ahead of the game. We've talked about this a lot, where success loves speed. You just have to implement. Don't worry about perfection. Just get going. But as you start thinking about scaling your business, going from that 4 figures a month, maybe 5 figures a month, to now 6 and 7 figures a month and beyond, there has to be a shift in how you see your business. And if you have this shift, a lot of the other pieces sort of fall into place because they make sense. So the shift is you have to start seeing your business as, instead of a cash flow generating machine, like, how do I make money in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? And what strategy, what tactics, what things can I do to make money right now? Have a shift from that to seeing your business as an asset, a saleable asset that has value. And as you start to increase the revenue and the profitability of the business and start to scale, you're building a more and more and more valuable asset. I mean, consider this. Let's say you get a 3x multiple on your business. If you were to sell your business, okay, you get a 3x multiple on annual revenue. I'm just using some round numbers here just to give you an example. When you are thinking about, all right, I need to make more money, I need to have a $10,000 increase in monthly revenue, right? That's like a target. And out of that, maybe you can pull out $2,000 of cash. You're like, all right, I'm going to generate $2,000 of profit from that extra 10K in revenue. Well, that's cool. That's great, right? I mean, who wouldn't want an extra 2 grand? But if you can have a shift from like, all right, how do I make an extra 10 G's so that I can pull out some cash? If you think of it more as, all right, I'm building an asset that I'm going to sell, and that extra 10K in revenue is roughly 100 grand a year, on a 3x multiple on revenue, would increase the value of the business by $300,000. So when you have that shift where it's like, all right, how am I going to pull an extra 2K out of this business next month, to how am I going to create an asset that's worth $300,000 more dollars? the whole game changes. How you think about the business, how you show up, how you strategize, how the plans you put in place. It all changes for you. And then what that does is it opens up the opportunity for you to start thinking about the things that are actually going to create value in the business long term. So it does two things. It shifts your mindset from short-term thinking to long-term thinking in terms of the value you can create. But that long-term thinking also helps you start planning not just 30 and 60 days into the future, but 1, 2, 3 years into the future. Because now you start realizing, whoa, that's how I'm going to create a multiple seven-figure asset that someone's going to want to buy. And it's not going to happen overnight, right? It's not going to happen in 30 days, but you can certainly make it happen incrementally. And that's what I want to show you next is incrementally by having small gains on a regular basis over the long term, they'll compound exponentially. And now you'll have an asset that's worth way more money. And in e-commerce, that's where the real payout happens. When you can provide yourself an amazing living along the way where you can have freedom of time, do the things you love, build a business that matters to you, to your family. But really the payout is when someone wants to acquire that business and they're willing to pay out to you now. They're willing to, look at future profits of that business and pay them to you now. So that shift is huge. And here's the reality. I want you to know this. There is a lot of private equity money out there wanting to acquire e-commerce businesses. It's a huge opportunity right now. And if you have a business that you've scaled, it's profitable, that has, an upward trend in revenue, there's so much money out there wanting to buy your business. It's such a great opportunity because e-commerce is such a growing trend. Retail is going down, e-commerce is blowing up. So it's just, you could not be in a better position at a better time to be in the business that you're in if you're building an online brand. So first critical part of this is that mindset shift, knowing that opportunity is there, and stop seeing the business as a cash flow generating, machine to, stop seeing that and transition to seeing it as a saleable asset. And now start thinking long-term, how do I build the value of this thing as big as possible so that when I go to sell it, my payout is as big as possible. Again, seems minor, but it's going to open you up to the most powerful force in nature, in the world. It applies to all parts of your life. It certainly applies to your business, and that's the law of compounding. Small incremental gains every day that lead, ultimately, they compound to something very, very big. And the beautiful thing about compounding, and I could talk about this all day because it applies to so many parts of life. It applies to our personal well-being, whether it's health, fitness, wisdom, love, it's so many things, right? Acquiring a new skill in life, to business and building a brand, building a reputation, building income, building profitability. This law of compounding is so important and so powerful. So I'll probably do a separate video and talk about this later, but just know that any greatness you want to achieve is really just a matter of small deposits done daily. And the beauty about compounding is you don't have to do a lot. And they're easy things to do, but as Jim Rohn used to say, if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, look him up. Just brilliant stuff that he put out in his day. The thing about the things that actually matter is they're easy to do, but they're easy not to do. And when you start thinking about things long term, now every day you think like, man, I can't really do anything big today. But then you realize you don't have to do anything big today. You just have to put that deposit in. Every single snowflake on that snowball that starts to roll and get bigger and bigger and bigger matters. So every single small action matters because they all compound to something bigger. And the thing is, it's easy to do, but it's easy not to do. So make sure you show up every day. Even if you do something small, it matters that you do the small thing today. Okay. So with that, I want you to start there and really think about this and process it. Have that shift, because now it's going to allow you to take in what I'm going to share next, which is really modeling out what small incremental deposits into your business can do in critical areas, right? Because you have to do this in the right place. When done in the right way, can lead to these huge exponential gains over time. And the reality is it's not a very long amount of time. A year is not that long when you talk about how life-changing this can be for you, your family, and really your family tree, and the amount of wealth that we can create nowadays with the opportunity we have online with building a brand. So what I want to do is shift here. I'm actually going to share my screen and walk through some numbers. If you are listening to this, then I'm going to try to be very clear and just walk through it all. But we'll also link to the video so you can actually see how this all plays out. And hopefully, if this is the kind of stuff you're into, then you're going to really like this. And if you do like this kind of stuff, please, if you're watching this and you want to see more content like this, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let me know that you're enjoying this because that lets me know to create more content like this for you. So I'm going to go ahead, switch screens, and show you this incremental gain calculator that we built out and that I like to use to honestly just to motivate myself and see what's possible if I just take small action every day. So give me 1 second. We're going to switch the screen here and I'll show you the calculator. All right, so here we are in our eCom Legacy Power of Incremental Gains workbook. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed by this. There's a lot of numbers on here. I'm going to explain it all, and the main thing is I want to show you, and again, hopefully inspire you to see the power of this. If you can focus, remember, success leaves clues, and success loves speed, and these are things that I've seen a common trait among everyone I've seen who's had extraordinary success in really in anything in life, whether it's personal or business. It's this consistent deposit. It's seeing the power of small incremental gains over time and how they have a multiplicative impact, okay? And I'm going to illustrate this with numbers in your e-commerce business and what you need to be focusing on and hopefully inspire you to actually get going on this today and to not stop. Remember, you have that mindset shift. Now you're thinking long-term. You're thinking a year, 2 years, 3 years, creating real value in your business. And creating an actual saleable asset here and doing it slowly over time by just sticking to it. So first thing I want to show you is there are basically 5 things that really matter in your business, right? It's the amount of revenue, and we could argue profitability and things like that too, but these are kind of some baseline things for you to be focused on. The amount of revenue you make each month in the business, right? The number of visitors that come to your store, what percentage of those visitors convert into customers. When they convert, how much do they spend? What's the average order value? And how often do they come back and spend again and again and again? That's your returning customer rate, which essentially is a measure of lifetime value of a customer. But each month you can measure this by looking at what rate do people come back and buy again, all right? So we have these 5 things we look at: revenue, visitors, conversion rate, average order value, returning customer rate. And I'll talk about run rate and business value in a second, but I want to focus on this first. So what if all you did was, in your business, you said, listen, I'm going to focus for the next 12 months. I'm going to have long-term vision in my business. I'm going to think about building a saleable asset, not just trying to, no longer just trying to pull cash from the business and just make money next month and thinking of ways to do that. Completely have a paradigm shift to look going forward. What about the next year, 2 year, 3 years, right? So let's look at the next year. What if all you did was focus on a 1% incremental gain next month on whatever your baseline was, and we'll call the baseline last month. So let's say that we're looking at this and the baseline, let's say this was February's numbers. So here I have an example where there's a little over $10,000 in revenue, and it was the result of, we got $10,000 in revenue because we had 6,100 visitors, 3% of which converted, right? 3% of those 6,100 turned into buyers. When they bought, they spent $50, and we had a 10% returning customer rate. Very easily, you could find this in Shopify super easily. It's all in your analytics dashboard. And I want you to now set a baseline. That's where you're starting. And now what if you do it? What if you focus on next month? I'm just going to increase this by 1%. That's it, 1%. I'm not saying going from 3% conversion rate to 4%. I'm literally saying going from 3% to 3.03%. It's a 1% increase on whatever your baseline is. That can't really do that much, right? Well, let's take a look. If you did that for the next 12 months, you focused on a 1% increase, and everything you did in your business was to drive those, really, revenue is just a byproduct of focusing on those 4 levers. We call them the power levers. Your visitors, conversion rate, average order value, returning customer rate. What does that look like? Well, let's project it out forward. So in the model here, we look now on month 12. We project all the way out. So as you would expect, over 12 months, and a 1% increase in each one of these things over 12 months is about a 12% increase. There's a little bit of compounding that happens, so it's 12.68%, but about 12.5%. So visitors went from 6,100 monthly to 6,874, right? It went up 1% each month. Same thing with conversion rate, went from 3% to 3.38.
Average order value went from $50 to $56. Returning customer rate went from 10% to 11.2%. I mean, these are small incremental gains over time, which it was about a 12%, 12.5% increase for each one of those. So what ends up happening to revenue? Remember, revenue is simply a result of focusing on these causes, right? On these things that are actually what are moving the needle. So what happens? Well, because these things compound on each other, right? If you have more visitors, if you have a little more visitors, converting at a little more higher frequency, spending a little more money, coming back a little more often, these things compound on each other. So here's what ends up happening. Your $10,000 a month in revenue with a 1% increase every month on these four things turned into over $14,000 a month in revenue. That's almost a 45% increase in revenue. So even though you had a 12% increase on each one of these levers, it resulted in a 45% increase in revenue. And that should make you very intrigued. And that should really start sparking your curiosity and should actually motivate you to go, all right, how am I going to get that 1% increase? And again, long-term thinking, right? We're not looking for the short win. If we can get those short wins, that's great. It allows us to dump more into the business. But if you can start thinking long-term, that's the power of compounding, and that's just 1 year. And honestly, that is super conservative numbers. If you look at the clients that we work with that come into our eCom Legacy program, we set way more aggressive targets than this. Obviously, a lot of it depends where they're at. Like if they have a super high conversion rate, well, we're probably not going to be able to do much better. But here's what I can tell you. If we can dial in conversion, dial in AOV, average order value, and dial in returning customer rate, guess what we can do? The power of paid ads, we can then pour fuel on the fire and have way more than a 1% increase in visitors. So let's play around with the model a little bit. Let's say we have that same baseline of about $10,000 in revenue, all the same numbers, but we say, hey, we can increase visitors by 5%. Easy to do with ads, right? I mean, we could literally increase it by 100% tomorrow, but we want to make sure we have all the numbers, right? Because remember, great marketing never beats bad math. We got to make sure the math is right before we pour fuel on the fire with ads. But 5%, super doable. Conversion rate. Let's say we can do a 1.5% increase, okay? Average order value, 1.5%. Returning customer rate easily can do a 2% increase on that. I would say even 2.5. If we're starting at a 10% returning customer rate, I would actually say 3% is actually super doable. So what does that end up looking like? Well, our visitors will go up significantly, right? From 6,100 12 months later to about 11,000 a month. That makes sense, about 80% increase because we really got aggressive with that. Conversion rate went up a little bit from 3% to 3.59. Average order value went from 50 to 59. Returning customer rate went from 10% to 14%. These are not aggressive things to do, especially if we give ourselves a 1-year timeline to make it happen. If we can make it sooner, obviously that's great. Now let's look at the numbers. Here's what ends up happening to revenue. Revenue goes from $10,000 a month to over 26, almost 27,000 per month. Remember, this excludes seasonality because we're not adjusting for peaks in sales because November, December, Q4. This is taking an average month like February and using that as the baseline, and then on top of that, there's the seasonality. So that's just going to add another factor that we're not even implementing. We're not even accounting for in this at all. So what ends up happening? The incremental gains on those 4 levers produced a 167% increase in revenue. We went from $10K a month to almost $27K a month in revenue. Pretty awesome, right? Well, that's not even the best part. Because remember, you want to focus on building a saleable asset. There are people who want to acquire your business. And if you build a business that is growing like this, that's just going to increase the multiple that you have. And I'll do a separate video on how to increase the multiple on your business, but just trust that there's money out there that is looking to invest in businesses like yours and will continue to want it as you grow it. So that should be the real long-term vision of why you're doing this. So let's just put a 3x multiple on revenue. Pretty standard. I mean, that's, again, I'm not making any claims here on what you can expect. Obviously, it's all going to vary on your business and market and all that, but let's just use that as a baseline. So if you were doing $10,000 a month in sales, that's roughly $120K a year, right, in revenue. A 3x multiple on that is basically $360,000 of business value. So your business is worth $360K. So what happens when we put these incremental gains, right? Just 5% on visitors, 1.5% on conversion rate every month, 1.5% on average order value, 3% on returning customer rate. We go from $10,000 a month to $27,000 a month. Pretty cool over a year. 167% increase in revenue. That's awesome, pretty exciting. But this is actually the most exciting part. Because your run rate is simply what, if you kept making sales at this rate, what would your annual revenue be? I want you to pay attention to this. You increased revenue by $17,000 a month. Awesome, right? But here's what you also did. You increased your run rate to $322,000 a year, which gives your business a valuation of just under $1 million. So you're at $966,000. So these incremental gains every single month over 12 months increased the value of the business assuming this 3x valuation. It increased the value of the business by $600,000. You started with a $360,000 business. You ended up with almost $1 million business. And that's the power of building an asset. Because now you're compounding these levers, these incremental gains every month. And as a result, you're actually also compounding the value of the business. And that's where the big payday is. So my main takeaway, there's a few things here. One, have this mindset shift. Stop thinking of your business as just a cash flow generating machine and how do we make money next month, and transition into a business owner mindset of building a saleable asset, an asset that people want to spend money on to acquire. And that'll then give you the confidence and the paradigm shift to start seeing long-term, not just next month. You're going to see next year, the year after that. And then it's going to give you the ability to every day move the ball a little bit forward. And here's the thing, because you have this time horizon, because you're going to take advantage of this compounding effect, every day matters. The smallest action you can take today. Normally you have a day where you just don't feel like getting after it, right? You're like, what difference is today really going to make? I can't really do anything. I'm not up for it. I don't have the energy, whatever it might be. I don't have any great ideas. So I can't really do anything very impactful. Well, here's the secret. Small gains every single day. So today matters, because if you think about building a snowball that's so big and so powerful that it could knock a building down, well, that's possible, right? Give me a big enough hill with enough wet snow and roll that snowball down the hill, you can build a massive snowball, right? That could literally knock a building down. But here's the deal. Every snowflake on that ball matters. Any one won't do anything to a building, but it all compounded together has a massive impact. Think of that on those days where you don't really want to get after it. You don't really have the motivation. Anything you can do today, even if it's just that one snowflake you could put on that snowball, is going to contribute to the end result that you want. So get up today, get after it, make some small incremental gain, and make sure you do it tomorrow, make sure you do it the next day, and never stop doing it, okay? Success loves speed. Take action and figure out what you have to do to get these incremental gains, because with a long enough time horizon, the impact is massive. And pro tip, this applies to not just business. It applies to your personal life, to your personal goals, to a lot of things in life. And I would actually encourage you to think about that. It is one of, I think, the biggest secrets in the universe is this power of compounding and how we can apply it to different parts of our lives. But for today, I want you to focus on your business, and I want you to think, what can I do? I want you to answer this question. This is the prompt, and I want you to answer it and then take action. What can I do today? Well, first of all, figure out what your baseline is, and then set an intentional target to next month beat it by just 1%. Visitors, conversion rate, average order value, returning customer rate, and start having that long-term vision and see what happens, okay? And focus and stay committed to it. So I would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on this, if this is something you enjoy, if this is something that motivates you. If you like it, if you don't like it, let me know, because that feedback allows me to figure out what other types of content and training to create for you that will help you in your business, help you grow your business, because that's why I do this. So let me know, and if you like this and you're watching this on our YouTube channel, then please like the video, subscribe, of course, so I can keep creating more content like this, and I'll talk to you soon. So go get after it. Remember, commit to this and take action. That's really all that matters, and I'll see you in the next training.